All right, everybody. So welcome to the design track, UI UX of HNG Internship. UI UX is the most difficult track. It's definitely not for beginners, but everybody who has completed it successfully has been a beginner. Yeah, which is a little bit of a paradox, but that's how it is. The thing is this, when it comes to design, people have talent. Some people have talent, some people don't have talent. And we are not really, the internship is not really that all the nitty-gritty initial details of learning how to do design. It's there to really advance you very, very quickly. And there are some people who are so talented that they are able to do it. Some people have a good background before all of this, and that's why it's no problem at all for them. So you're just going to have to figure out if you're one of those people or not. I really cannot tell. But one thing, the way that we do it is this. You're going to be creating designs and you're going to be submitting designs, and those designs will be graded, and if the designs are good enough, you'll proceed to the next stage. If the designs are not good enough, you are going to be dropped instantly and you can switch and go to another track. There is no training, there is no further explanation. In some cases, we will not even explain what the problem is for you. The reason that we do it that way is that I want you to think about the design. I want you to really figure out what the problem is. I'm not going to tell you fix this line or something like that. The point of being a designer is that you always have to be able to try and figure it out, because if you build a building and the building is strange, the building looks weird, the owner will be able to tell you, no, I don't like staircase over here, the roof is not like that. But when it comes to design, often the people that you're working for do not actually know as much as you. So they don't know what to tell you actually. And you have to somehow figure it. And most they'll be telling you, I don't like it. It's not what I had in mind, but they are not very explicit. And they don't know how to pick the right colors and all that. You have to do that. That means that you are going to have to refine your sense of taste. In the initial stage is probably the most difficult. You are going to have to create a design, a simple design that follows all the basic design rules. It mustn't be too lovely, but you need to follow the technical rules accurately. That means things need to be balanced, colors need to be right, you know, all those rules that are outlined in that book. Now, once all of that is done, then you need to be a little bit creative, not terribly creative at the initial stage, but there needs to be just a little bit of creativity happening, and then you are going to get promoted. Then between let's say stage 1 and 4, I want to see you improve a lot. That means that in the beginning, all you did was get the basic technicals right. Once you get to the further stages, then your aesthetics need to start working well. You need to start understanding how users are interacting with the product and how you are going to design for that. There's no curriculum here that is actually going to teach you, because out in the real world, there is no curriculum. Remember, this is not a training, this is an internship. And that means that you are going to have to go out and figure out with all the resources that are on the internet, the best way to make this happen. And there are tons and tons of resources, because this is how it's going to be in the real world. No one is going to be teaching you or telling you exactly how it works. We have a sister program, start.ng. Start.ng is where the training happens. The training does not happen in this program. So in spite of there being no training, there are some people that catch up very quickly. And there are people who finish the program and I'm not very, very satisfied with their work. But 1 year later, almost all of them are really, really great. So I will say that design is not just about like some inherent talent. There's a lot of it that just through hard work and reading the material and so on, you will ultimately get really good at it. But a lot of people get discouraged at the beginning because of the way that we do it, which is we throw you out basically without giving you much feedback. It is all by design. This is the first time that anybody is actually going to hear that that thing is there for a reason, and I hope it'll make you a little bit less frustrated. But there's not going to be too much feedback, and you just have to go back and think and figure out what went wrong here. We'll try and do the initial evaluation very, very early so that you have enough chance to switch to another track. Yeah? So that's it from me. I guess you guys will ask more. So I'll hand over to David. Let's see if what he has to say.
All right. Hello, guys. So this one's internship again. Mark has basically said almost everything that is left to say, but I want you guys not to be discouraged. Okay, the design track is very, very, very tasking, and most of the time, as he said, you won't really get to know what's wrong in your design. But the best thing for you to do is actually to go out online, go do your research. It's about solving the problems. It's not just about how fine your designs are or how flashy they are. Okay, it's not about how flashy your designs are, it's about solving the problem. So you go ahead, there are many resources out there for you. You have your Pinterest, you have your Instagram, sometimes you have your Dribble, you have your Behance. Go around, find the problems to the solution. Then you also have to take it like very, very considerate about your alignment. Your alignment pay, like the mark is really into that. Like if you have a problem with your alignments, your designs will not get approved. You also have to check out your different design UI patterns. You have to know that, okay, this particular element you use here has to be consistent. All right, consistent. Okay, can you hear me, guys?
I hear you, but it's very scratchy.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm in a very okay. So your yes. So the design elements have to be consistent round board. You don't use a particular element here and in another place use a different thing. You have to be careful. You have to check if please I'll give you oh sorry.
Yeah, David, I think you should take off the
Have to give
earpiece.
Can you hear me now better?
David,
No,
it's really poor. It's really
breaking. Your internet is poor.
no, not. I don't think it's the internet. I think it's the earpiece, not the internet.
I think it's the earpiece. Maybe let's just switch over to Orpheus for a while, and then we'll come back to you.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. Orpheus, anything to add?
Okay. So, all I have to say for the UI UX guys is understanding design is not you just wake up one morning and say, okay, I want to be a designer. Designer requires you being a designer. It requires a lot of creativity. You need to be able to figure out colors. You need to understand colors. You need to understand patterns. You need to understand lines as simple as it is. Some people might think that, okay, what is there in colors that I don't understand? What is there in lines that I don't understand? But when you actually get to think about it, it's more difficult than you realize so fast. You understand? And whenever I have an advice, whenever you're turned down, whenever you're told that your design needs to be iterated, take a little while, take a recess. Don't just rush back to it. You need to calm down, think about it, think about the problem you're trying to solve, like Mark said earlier. The truth of it is, if you don't think about that, you'll never be able to figure out what the issue is. There are times whereby we, the mentors, we get messages from you interns a lot of times whereby they say, my designs were rejected. I don't know why. Why were my designs were rejected? I did exactly what it was asked, what it was asked of me to do. I did the design. I did everything. I put the header. I put this. The truth is, there's something missing. You need to usually go through your designs over and over again in a situation where your designs were rejected or you're asked to iterate. Usually, we ask you to iterate if you're on the right track. If you're not on the right track, then I'm sorry, you have to probably switch your track to some other track so you get on the right track. So that's basically it. All you have to do is understand it and just be creative. If you're not creative, I'm sorry, please. I will advise you early enough to switch your track to another track if you're not creative, because designers are creative people. Designers are fast thinkers. Designers are people who think just as much as a user would think, because you're not just going to be doing a UI. As time goes on, you're going to be designing patterns. Such as okay, we have UI, we have UX. UI is for user interface, and then UX is for user experience. And then your design, with great design comes great user experience. So if your design is not good enough, your user or whichever user is going to use that design and the converter design in the future is going to have a bad user experience. So user experience is another topic on its own that involves great design. So unless you're doing a good design and you're creative enough to think as a user, to understand that as a user, I want something simple and understanding, but at the same time looking very good, you will not be able to make it in design. So I'd advise you already, if you know you're not creative and you think that, okay, this is really going to be difficult from the way Office is explaining this, you could easily just switch. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just trying to tell you the obvious. It's not easy being a designer. You need to be really creative. So that's my own quarter. Thank you very much, Mark.
All right, thanks. Alex, anything to add?
Ophios and you have already said everything. I'll just drop some things that actually helped me during HNG 5 as a design intern. What really helped me was a blog written by David, Out Survival Kits for Designers. So he mentioned everything that we designers need to avoid in our designs. Well, one thing that I was doing wrongly then that made my designs rejected was using gradient. Though I didn't know how to use gradient, I was kind of using a red and a blue. So my designs were always getting rejected until after I read that blog post from David, I actually made changes to my design. And I discovered then I was using too much shadows, and those are actually making my design being rejected every time. So I would suggest you all read that David blog post. Avoid using too much shadows, avoid using gradient, avoid using, just focus more on user experience than user interface, because you just want to see where should user click, not will be asking you, oh, where should user click, where should this be, where should that be, or using different colors, like having color eye, using red, blue, black, everywhere is so. But you and Ophius have said everything already. I just advise them to just go through David and blog posts, survival kit for every design intent, and I think it really helped them.
All right, great. David, is your earpiece back? You still want to add anything? Okay, I think maybe David is up. So that's it. Let me just reiterate again. Now, here, the way that what I'm really looking for is exceptional talent. I'm looking for somebody that can be great. Like that's the entire purpose of this thing. It's not really about, it's not about training. It's about, are there some people out there that nobody knows about? They have never really had a chance to shine, that we can put into a situation that their inherent talent is now going to come out. That's what I'm looking for, not trying to pick somebody and like, let me teach you how to do this thing. I believe that there are people out there that are insanely talented, but there's no way, nobody has found them. Nobody really knows that they exist. And this program is there to discover those people. That's why it's completely free. You don't pay, there are no restrictions. There's no test. Everybody just gets in. And the only thing that will kind of differentiate you from others is the quality of your work. That's the only thing that can make a difference here. And I believe that there are people that can create that quality somehow. And we try and make sure that we're evaluating the best way we possibly can, where nobody will ever get kicked out on a technicality. So a technicality is, oh, I submitted late, or this. You know, all those small things that you just, you get kicked out. What you get kicked out on is that you are not learning fast enough, your designs are not getting better quickly enough, or you have some kind of very big attitude problem, which is very rare. That doesn't really happen. Mostly it's about your work isn't yet good enough. By the way, I'll add that yet, because many people who maybe they got to later stages but dropped out, many of them have still turned out to become some of the best designers in the country. So it's not about, even if you don't make it to the end, it's not that you are not good, but maybe there are other things that came in between at this particular point in time. But what we are trying to do, the people who are trying to get to the end are those who maybe they never had a real chance, or they never had somebody to point them in the right direction to the right things in order to do this. So we'll always try and be fair in all the evaluation, but most of the work is on you. When somebody asks you, go and correct it, go and research, go and learn, try and look at every other thing, try and understand. this competition is completely fair in the sense that nobody will be favored. It doesn't matter, like we don't do any form of favoritism, like you came from here or you've done start.ng or you're female or so on. None of that happens. Just your work. That's the only thing that is going to take you to the next stage with all this. And then in the later stages, it becomes about your leadership skills and how well you can actually help other people to grow and not just yourself. All right, that's it. Any questions? If you've got a question, raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can ask the question. All right. So Joshua, you are unmuted now.
Hello, Mark. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'd like to ask what software, that specific design software would use, say Figma or XD, or we can use anyone we wish.
Up until now, we have only worked with Figma. In this internship, we are considering, we are not yet sure, we might bring in other design tools. The reason we work with Figma is just so that we don't have to deal with two problems, which is that this person has this format, this person has that format, then there's issues working with them. And also because we are collaborative, so we need a big workspace many can drop. Figma are one of our past sponsors, so they have given us the ability to have thousands of people on one workspace. We don't pay for that, which is why we favored Figma. So we might, Figma will be the main tool for sure, but we may allow others work with other tools for this, and maybe in some projects or so on. We'll see. Well, we're open for that, but Figma does remain the main tool we use.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks. So I will. So unmuted is Sharma.
Hello, Mark. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am from India. My question is that how many days this internship will go on? And apart from US, as the previous one boy has asked that can't we use the Adobe Photoshop or the Adobe XD?
I didn't get the second question.
Yes, sir.
So you asked about Photoshop and XD. I didn't quite get what the question there was.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat the question again? Repeat the question.
My question is that how many days for this internship will go on?
Okay, so to that question, this internship will probably last 8 weeks, give or take. Sometimes we push it to 6 weeks, sometimes we could take it to 10 weeks. It depends on how many people are remaining and what we are working on. So we don't have a fixed number of people that will be the finalists, but we are looking for everybody talented. So right now there are like 6,000 to 7,000 people in the workspace. At the end of it, it could be 50, it could be 100, it could be 25. When we are such a small number that we are sure that everybody are the right number of people, the right talent of people that we're looking for, then we'll start preparing to end the thing. But generally, we are at around 8 weeks.
Okay. And one more question, please. And will we get any certificate regarding this?
Yeah.
After completing
there's a certificate that we produce at the end, and HNG certificate is very, very well recognized because everybody knows that we focus on quality. So at least in Nigeria, we haven't yet really gotten through in other parts of the world. It's well recognized, but we expect it to get broader and broader adoption. But yeah, we do give out a certificate, and we also connect a lot of people to jobs and other opportunities where they can continue. So we try and make sure that all our finalists are put into a job, an internship, whatever they need to continue being successful at the job. And so far, we have been very successful with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. So next, Adebayo Adebajo.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi, afternoon.
Yeah. My question is that how many stages are we going to be having to encounter, during this dropping of a thing, like dropping of less qualified people and everything? What are the criteria? Like how many stages before dropping a specific batch of people?
Okay, the way it works is this, and I'm speaking only UI UX for now.
Yeah.
I'm the main mentor in UI UX, so it runs is slightly different from the rest of the internship. First of all, we are going to do screening. The screening is at the beginning. Everybody says they want to do UI UX, but I'm going to request that everybody submit a design that they have done. Based on that design, we're going to select a whole bunch of people into, so I'll just unmute those that are still. Sorry. I don't know where that noise is coming from. Okay, so based on the work that is submitted, we are now going to select the first batch of people who are going to go in. Typically, it is less than 100 people. So around 800 of you have indicated interest in the UI UX track. But if you cannot get your work passed within about a week, then you're out of the track and you can switch to front end or any other track that pleases you. Once we are once we are about 100, there are going to be 3 stages where I want to see that you, by the end of the 3rd stage, you are technically perfect. That means I'm not too concerned about you being able to do gradients or shadows or all those nifty things. What I want to see is that you understand UX and your technicalities are correct. And everybody who does not pass any of those stages, there'll be about 3 stages is going to be dropped. Then at the end of it, at the end of the 3rd stage, so this is just 4 stages, we'll start working on projects. And typically, once we are in stage 4, stage 5 with UI UX, we don't drop people anymore. Most of the time, people will drop out by themselves because of their own personal reasons. But we don't, if somebody has shown enough potential to pass all those stuff, normally they just stay through to the end. I hope that answered your question. I'll just unmute you in case there was any additional question. Did that answer it?
Yeah, it actually does answer it, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So I will now unmute Udo. So Udo Ahano.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon, Mark, or good day rather. I'm not sure of your time zone. So I wanted to ask, I started Flutter, learning Flutter in March, and I'm really good at it right now. I wanted to ask, this is for UI UX. Does this still cover mobile app development? Like,
you have missed the road. This is UI UX. We are only doing Figma designs, images, and so on. You can do multiple tracks. There's nothing in HNG preventing you from doing like 4 tracks at once if you want. But what we are focusing on is just visuals here. So Flutter and mobile development will have their own
visuals.
Yeah, this is just visuals. Flutter and mobile development have their own track. This call is only for UI. The call by 5 o'clock is for all the other tracks. So there's a special Flutter track that will come under mobile. So we are definitely doing mobile. We have an interesting app, a few apps I think planned that we are going to build there. So you can definitely come in at the 5 o'clock call, and then there'll be more information about the mobile track. I'm not going to be on that track. This is my own track.
Okay, sure.
But I'll be there in the project. I'll be there in the projects though, but not in the training itself.
Oh, sure, no problem. Thanks for clarifying.
So next up, Joel Adeyinka. Joel.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, the question I have is about the first screen. Will it be based on our previous design before applying to the HNG, or the task that will be assigned to us as the internship staff?
I'm going to assign you a task. The people in start.ng, they already got a task. Their task was already evaluated, and some of them have already passed. There are not many. There are less than 10. But for this one, we are going to give you a task, a brand new task. The reason is that, I mean, if people just submit some old design that they say they did, I'm not really sure they did it. Like, how would I really know? So I'm going to give them something now, give everybody something now, and you're supposed to work on that design and submit that design. And then based on that, you will now be promoted. So it's going to be a brand new task.
Okay, so the first task, will it be based on Figma? Can we use any tool we are familiar with for the first task?
It will be based on Figma. Because I need to click through and view your design, and I don't want to start using other things. I don't want anybody sending me a Corel Draw file or something that will just make things complicated.
I understand.
Yeah, it's not going to be very complicated, that initial one. So it's something that you can quickly pick up in Figma. If you use XD or something like that and you're really good at it, I don't really mind if you create it there and then import it into Figma. Even though I wouldn't advise it, I would just advise, because the things I'm looking at are simple. I'm looking at balance, I'm looking at alignment. So it's something that you could do in 1 hour in Figma, even if you've never used Figma before.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. So next, Ankan Sinha. You're muted.
Hello, sir. I would like to ask you, will you guide through our project throughout the week?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Will you guide our project throughout the week?
No, we will not. So you're asking if we'll guide the project throughout the week, right?
Yes.
No, we will.
Will there be a continuous screening?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Will there be a continuous screening?
No, not every day. Not every day of the week. We will give you something to do. Then you'll submit it by a certain deadline, initially in the beginning stages, and then we'll grade it, probably give you feedback. In later stages, we'll give you feedback. In the beginning, we won't give you feedback, and then you can iterate and resubmit. That's how it normally works. When we get to project stage, where we are actually developing a product, I will now be very hands-on. So I'll be once you submit your design, I'll drop comments and we'll discuss each of the different issues. But that comes much later. It's not in the initial stages. Because there are a lot of, we're only about 30, 40 mentors, and there are like 6,000, 7,000 people. We don't have the manpower to guide every single person individually. But we'll be evaluating and letting through. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Next up, Dafe Precious. By the way, everybody has such a different way of writing their names. I can never tell what is first name, what is last name. If we could all just stick with the standard first name, last name thing, instead of some people are last name first, some are back first name first. Like first name, last name, make it easy to know how to call people. So Dafe Precious, you're unmuted.
Okay, good day, sir.
Hi, good day.
So I read through the rules, the guidelines for the design throughout this internship. So basically, some of the rules there, I think they needed some little bit of more explanation, because definitely everybody has their own point of view towards designing. So if maybe maybe it's written there, okay, said you shouldn't use a black text on a white background, and it was not really explained very well to some people's understanding. And we try and use it throughout, because most of the rules they are going to be used, apart from this internship, might be followed by many people throughout their lifetime in design. So I don't know if it could have been better if they could have give a little bit of explanation to some of those rules, so that we could really understand, or make more, so that we all could find why this is being used and this is not being used.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. So maybe during the course of this internship, we'll expand the rule book, and maybe for each of the individual rules, we'll add one additional page with some of the background theory, why those rules are like that. This rule book just came into existence, I think, last internship. Before that, we were evaluating by those rules, but it wasn't documented. So it's quite a recent document that probably has not been. So, if you survive and you make it through, then let's work on improving the rule. This internship is not a top-down thing. It's everybody's just, it's a, everybody's part of it. If you guys make it through now, next internship, you are the mentors. So it's something that we are all working on together, continuous improvement.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Next up, Emmanuel Okpala.
Okay, good afternoon, Mark. Quite interesting. Okay, this is my first time in product design, and then I've heard you talked about Figma. I'm aware of Adobe XD and stuff, and I also use Marble. But I understand perhaps Figma would work more like a collaboration tool and stuff. So how do we get to join your workspace on Figma so that we can carry out the project? I don't know if you got access.
Yeah, the mentors will provide it to you. And normally you work in your own workspace and share the link with us. That's how it works with Figma. We are not all going to design in one collaborative workspace. We'll only do that when we start working on products where we are actually working, but the teams will be much smaller than maybe 5 on one product. So as of now, you work in your own Figma.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Mike, can you please mute Harles for a moment there?
Where's the noise coming from?
Yeah, is the one. It's audio is bringing the noise.
Okay, so it's muted. Okay, so next up, okay, so Oluseun Ajayi, you're muted now. Oluseun Ajayi.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for the opportunity. My question is mainly about the tasks. So if we're submitting the task given to us, are we going to be submitting a PNG file or a Figma link?
That will be communicated to you on each of the challenge, depending on how we're evaluating it. If it's something that we need to evaluate quickly, then we'll ask you to submit the PNG so we can just view it in the Slack thread. If it's something that we need to give more feedback and maybe look in more detail, then we'll ask you to submit the Figma link so that we can look, but it will always be clarified. The first one will probably be PNG because of the volume, and then later we'll now switch to Figma links. Okay, hope that was clear. Next up, Daniel, you have you're muted now. Daniel, okay, sorry, I haven't unmuted you. Okay, that's not working. So we have Keminon Collins.
Are you getting me?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing
well. I'm Collins.
Okay.
So my question is, if I'm actually starting to learn UI, so are you able to maybe take someone who has never done it before but is willing to learn step by step? Or am I supposed to wait? Or I'm unable to tell. Can you explain a little bit?
Now, regarding people who are absolute beginners, if you have some reasonable computer skills and are put on Figma and so on, then you will learn, you will be able to figure out quite quickly how to use the tool. And then you can submit. If you are learning the rules very quickly, then you will probably get by. But the primary purpose of this internship is not for people that have zero idea. It's a bit tough to make it through. We have the other program, start.ng, which is for people that are absolute beginners. But many people have made it through that were absolute beginners. It's just a matter of how fast you can learn the tool. So it'll be clear what you are supposed to do, and enough time will be given. You just try your luck. Maybe you make it. But
Okay, you know,
it's not
personally,
intended for absolute beginners.
I have skills in coding,
Mhm.
and I'm able to try and get to C. I have no problem.
Okay, then let's just see.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So Habib Aziz, you're unmuted now.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Actually, I just wanted to confirm because you said something earlier on where you said the designers will have to be working with the coders for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just wanted to confirm if what you meant by that was pairing designers and coders together, whereby you pair about 2 designers and 2 coders to work on a particular task. I just wanted to expatiate to explain what
Yeah,
is actually.
that will probably happen. At some point, we'll start working on projects where, and every project will have a few designers working on them, a bunch of coders and a few designers. So because that's what design, UI UX design is all about. You work with coders, never alone. So
yeah, I know, but my main concern is in a case whereby I'm paired with a designer now, and we actually want to work on this Figma. I use Figma actually to design again. So in a case whereby I want to work, and am I to work on a particular page? Say, you said they would have to, I don't know, to evict people at one point in time. You get. So my point is, in a case whereby I worked on the home page and he worked on the contact us page, and his own was not that good and mine was accepted. Are you, since we are both paired together, like we are peers, are we going to be evicted together?
No, we don't evict teams. We never evict teams. Everybody can only be evicted on their own personal work.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Yeah, there will always be there'll always be a chance for you to come out, even though sometimes you can get into a team that ends up in pre-eviction, right? But we will always give the opportunity for individuals to get out of that. We'll never do like a mass eviction. Since we did that, I think only in the second internship or so, but since then we have stopped that. So right now it's all your own work that will take you forward or back.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks. So next up, Folarin Oyenuga.
All right. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon.
Yes, please, I would like to ask, because I'm actually on the front-end track, not on HNG. I am more or less self-taught, and I'm still in the process. I know a thing or two about color combinations and what colors actually mean individually. Is it going to be important that a color that to be added to the design pattern on a particular project has its own meaning? Say red is for danger and stuff like that, or black is for danger, and how these colors are categorized and the meanings they connote. So is that going to be an important factor when it comes to grading and the quality of work that to be evaluated?
Yes, it will be, but it will be important in context. That means that there'll be a point, for example, where we are designing apps, and you can have an app and there's something you have to indicate, and you are now using the wrong color. For example, you put red and indicate success, and you put green and indicate failure. If you are making that kind of mistake, I mean, I personally will not comment. I will just mark the design as failed. Not at the beginning stages, but let's say from 1 or 2 stages up, I'll mark it as failed. One of the design mentors will help you probably and tell you that you shouldn't do that. But the more thing is that you are expected to read up about it and understand all these conventions in UI and UX and how they work and why possibly your design was marked as failed. But we will not we won't accept that kind of work. There's nobody that will graduate that should be making that type of mistake. Even though it's small, but it shows where you are as a designer. And if as a designer you are using green for failure and red for success, then you have not understood it yet. You are not ready. So that will definitely be marked down, because the expectation is that any material you read would have told you this very early.
All right. I'm really grateful. That's the only question I have.
All right, thanks. Next up, we have Donna Gosh. Donna Gosh, yeah, you are unmuted now.
Hello, Mark.
Yes, hello.
Donna here. I wanted to know if we will get a demo of output of the UI UX so that we have an idea about the expectation level from you.
We'll get what? A table?
What?
You were asking if we'll get what?
A demonstration of the output of the UI UX so that we have the idea about your expectation level from us.
You not initially. You are going to see simply what the other people who are submitting, and you are going to see publicly whose design is passing and whose design is failing. So you can look at the people's designs who are passing, and then you know that that's the type of design that you need to do, and the designs that are failing, that's the type of design you don't need to do. Right? I mean, we could always show you like some great designs from the past, but that is not the expectation at the beginning. And I don't want to scare anybody off that, okay, you're expected to recreate this thing and now you're not expected to recreate it now. Or maybe 8 weeks from now, you can actually create those level of designs. But if you already look in the UI UX channel, immediately, very soon, we are going to start submitting designs, and it's going to be publicly marked which ones are good and which ones are bad. Okay, and you can use that to learn.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. John Kent, you're up next. John Kent, I'm trying to unmute you. I think he's probably muted from his own end. Let's try Daniel again. Okay, well, John Kent and Daniel, I can't okay, Daniel, you're unmuted now.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
I want to ask this question. I don't know actually if, okay, now for some of us that doesn't have any pre-experience, we have not used Figma before, and we don't have any design that we can send. So what is our fate? Is it that we should still wait along and join, or we should switch to another program?
Immediately after this call, I'm going to give you the brief, what everybody is to design and how you are going to submit it. It's only the design that I request now that will be used to evaluate. I'm not interested in anybody's prior work, what you have done before now. That's just your personal stuff. Put it in your portfolio, let it look nice there. But it's only what I request now that is going to be what we use to evaluate everybody.
Okay. Okay. What of those that doesn't have any prior experience in using Figma?
That you're gonna have to figure it out very quickly. You for the first screening, we'll have about 3-4 days. So you have 3-4 days to learn it. It's nothing you don't need to submit anything today.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
The next 1 week, everybody is safe. Nobody's getting evicted within 1 week. The first eviction happens next week, Sunday.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so next up, Jane. After Jane, I think that's gonna be, okay, one more person and then we're done. So Jane, yeah, Jane White.
Mark,
Hi.
I was wondering, during the screening, the first stage, and once someone fails, does it mean that that is the end of them, or they can redo the assignments again?
On UI UX, you will be asked to submit. You can keep submitting till the final deadline. You can keep submitting in as much as you want, right? But normally, if a person does a bad design, they'll keep submitting bad designs, and the designs will keep getting rejected. So you have to keep improving your design over and over and over again till you get through to the next stage. And I can assure you, there is no point asking somebody to help you, because you will, the next stage, it's still going to be the same problem again, and you're not going to get somebody to help you all the way through. So there's no limit as to how many times somebody can keep submitting their design. But once the deadline has reached, it's over. Nobody else will be accepted.
Okay.
So we are not with UI UX. We are not evaluating all at the final stage. We're evaluating on a rolling basis. As you submit, we'll evaluate, and if it's good enough, you move on to the next stage. So you can keep submitting. Okay. Thanks. Next up, Michael Godwin.
Okay, good day.
Hi, good day.
Yeah, you said something about the training on start.ng. So I just wanted to inquire when another opportunity like that would be coming up again.
I don't know. I'm not very sure. We kind of do this thing ad hoc. HNG is not, it's not a for-profit enterprise. We don't earn money from this thing. So we figure out like when there's time, when people are ready to do it, and so on. Or sometimes we can find a sponsor who can decide to finance the program. This particular one, we were lucky enough to get Google to sponsor it, which is why we can run it. If at start.ng, I'm not there, I'm not personally involved. I only stay involved in HNG. But if the guys who organize it are willing, they might do another one later this year. So we are still trying to decide. We may do HNG Advanced, which is for people that are really good, or we may do start.ng. But at the very latest, we would do it at least once a year. So the first one has already run earlier in the year. Maybe there may be another one this year, I don't know. It depends.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. So, Abhishek Sharma, you're muted.
Yes, sir. My question is that will you please schedule the perfect timetable so that we can arrange that in per week how many days we are going to have this conference and for how many hours? Can you please tell that?
Well, it will be shared officially later by in the later call, but I can say that the time requirement, it's about maybe for UI UX, maybe 5 hours, 6 hours a week, and except for the day when you are submitting, it will usually be a Sunday or the evaluation day when you need to show up. So this is in the beginning. Later, when you are working on a project, it could require much more time. It could require more time or less time depending on the team that you are in, what you are working on. It's not a very fixed program. We keep it flexible. But many people, it's not that time consuming. It's not a full-time thing. You could do maybe 1 hour every day. You can do all that you need to do. So most by the main when the other call happens.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
So next up, I'll call Ankan Sinha.
Sir, when we will be assigned without tasks?
When what? Sorry.
When will we be assigned without tasks? First task.
If the first task is going to come immediately, this call is over. So everybody can look in the UI UX channel, and I'll drop the first task.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So Ebube, I'll unmute you now. You're also the last person.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi.
Please, would people who submit the projects get an advantage over those who submit closer to the deadline, or doesn't it matter at all?
We try and make things go quickly. That means that if you submit early and you get promoted to a stage above, sometimes in those upper stages, there's already a task available that people have started working on. In that case, you have an advantage. You can go there and already start working on the other task. Sometimes there's no advantage. It really depends. But usually I find that people that submit earlier have a better, will I say, playing field, because they get more feedback. Towards the end, a lot of people submit, it's difficult to give feedback. And also, if there is a mistake, you may not have enough time to iterate. So I do advise just submit as early as possible, but there is no structural advantage or disadvantage. We'll never make it that, oh, actually a problem will come out of that, submitting early or late.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you, everybody. I'm going to drop the task right now. And there's another call happening by 5 p.m. Nigerian time. That is for the general internship. As usual, it's limited to 100 people, so you may not be able to get in. It will be recorded on YouTube and put on YouTube. So please go to the UI UX channel, and then I'm going to make a request for what I want to see. What I ask for now will be the screening. If you get an X on it, a red X, it means it hasn't passed. You are not going to get any further feedback. If you get a green tick on it, it means that you have passed and you're going to be promoted to stage 1. If you get a red X, you can ask a design mentor. If they want to help you, they may help you, or you can read the material, or you reach out to somebody that got a green tick and ask them to give you feedback on why they think you got a red X. Okay? All right, thank you very much. Bye.